The Two and Out CFL podcast with Travis Currah and Sheldon Jones starts now.
Here we are, Sheldon Jones. We're through 5 weeks of the 2025 CFL season. What a week 5 it was, Sheldon, or was it an anomaly?
I hope it's not an anomaly because it was a great week and we had lots of fun watching exciting football. And I said it right the first time.
I was just going to say, you nailed it right off the bat. Now,
you don't think I've been saying that over in my head like over and over and over?
Dude, I have received many comments and compliments that is an early season contender for moment of the year on Two and Out, Sheldon.
Yeah. Great. Thank you. I'm glad I could give you that whatever clip.
You're very, very welcome. Now, to start the show, I just want to bring this up because we're less than 3 weeks away from the Stadnek Invitational. Now, some people listening to the show might not know exactly what that is, but a few weeks ago, we did talk about the CFL Fans Fight Cancer Initiative. The big wrap-up for CFL Fans Fight Cancer is at the Grey Cup annually, and a couple years ago, leading up to CFL Fans Fight Cancer, a fun fundraising initiative started happening during the summer. Dave Stadnek is a friend of the show, and he started organizing this golf tournament. Is this year 3, year 4 of that? Sheldon, take it from here.
I believe it's year 4. This is going to be my 3rd year actually doing it. I know it's named after Dave Stadnek, and I think he'll be the first person to tell you that it's actually Joe who does 90% of everything when it comes to the Stadnek Invitational. That's Joe, who was on the show, the recap show last week. And yeah, no, it's just a great time where, there might be 2 or 3 people who are actually decent at golf and actually go out on the course and actually care about their game. And the rest of us are kind of just there to have fun and, raise money for a charity. So it's 25. Every golfer is looking for sponsors. Basically, when you enter the tournament, you're basically pledging to donate a certain amount of money based on how you shoot. So for every stroke, it's 25 cents. For every lost ball, it's $5. That's where it can add up a little bit sometimes. For every birdie, or for every par, it's $1. For every birdie, it's $2. I don't have to worry about those ones, thankfully. But again, it's all for charity. So we obviously want to, there's some times where I think, some balls might be just left lost instead of looking for them, just in case, because we can just give some money to charity. But it's just really great fun. Looking for sponsors. I've already had a couple people who say they're going to sponsor. A friend of not a friend, but a valued listener of the show, Renee, has pledged to sponsor. And I've got a few other ones. I got Manon and I got my wife Tammy. So I'm looking for more. And the reason why I'm looking for so many sponsors is not just because the money goes to CFL Fans Fight Cancer. But for every sponsor we get entered into a prize to win some of Dave Stadnek's baking. And there's either pierogies or cookies.
Real motivation, because Sheldon Jones is addicted to those cookies. I know that.
I am, and actually I'm on a sort of a journey right now where I shouldn't be eating a lot of cookies. So if I do win them, I'll stretch them out over a long period of time.
Or you just do it in one night and then they're gone.
Yeah.
I'm the devil on Sheldon's show.
I'm day 3 without a Diet Coke right now, okay?
Nicely done, nicely done. So, we've talked about sponsors. So, if somebody wants to sponsor Sheldon, you can hit us up on social media, email twoandoutcfl@gmail.com. But what about if somebody wants to play and join in the fun? It's happening July 25th, I believe. Where is the golf tournament this year?
So I believe there's 2. There's one satellite. Joe, we were initially hoping to have a bunch of satellite locations just because there are some people, every year before it's just been in Regina and it's been kind of set around an Elks game in Regina, basically. But so there's also a tournament going to be happening in Calgary. if you want to join, if you want to play, if you're in either of those two cities, just reach out to the Stadnek Invitational social media. They're on Twitter, on Instagram, and on Blue Sky. So just reach out there, and we would love to have as many people join as they can.
And I don't want to grow Joe's ego so much, but when he recapped week 4 with you, we got a comment from Bradford and Airdrie on the website. He says, I've been listening for years and I've loved this podcast. Travis always scares me with the quitting talk. Just heard the episode with Joe and he's a good addition. There's a horror storytelling podcast I listen to called Knife Point Horror. I can't believe how much Joe sounds like that host. Cadence and all with the pauses. He's got to listen to one to hear his voice twin. Knife Point Horror with Joe Balaneski's voice twin. Maybe it is him. I don't know.
Maybe. Yeah.
But I am so scared of even talking about horror movies that I'll probably avoid that.
I'll listen to it and give you and let you know.
Okay, thanks. I do want to hear that. Some interesting CFL news came out, I guess this was Saturday, that Shawn Lemon is now able to apply for reinstatement to the Canadian Football League. The defensive lineman with the Montreal Alouettes placed a bet worth about $70 a few years ago and has been banned indefinitely from the league. Now he's able to apply here for reinstatement with the CFL. He's one of the all-time best pass rushers in the league. He was big with Montreal's Grey Cup win in 2023 when they added Darnell Sankey that same year, and the Owls have been playing solid football ever since. But Shawn Lemon could be back into the league. I hope he's back into the league. Now, I understand there's been a lot of divisive issues when it comes to CFL talk as of late. So some think he should be banned for life. I get that. I'd like to see him playing again. 36 years old. He does turn 37 in August anyway. So sort of at the twilight of his career, respectfully to Shawn Lemon, but 102 career sacks down the stretch could be a valuable member of a defense.
Well, yeah, I bet he will try to get reinstated. I just don't know what the line is on, if he gets reinstated or not. What's it open at? Plus or minus a couple of sacks in his first game. I don't know. There's lots of questions here, but again, I think he's a great player. The league needs great players. It's just you gotta. I know it, sanctity of the game, right? You have to take care of that stuff, and I understand it was a €100 bet, and he bet on his team to win, I believe, is what it said. So it's not like he bet against it to throw, but you have to make an example. And he's been out of the league a year and out change now. So, and he also does have a 2-game suspension to serve if he does get reinstated from a I don't know what that was again, a performance enhancing drug test, I think, but yeah, we'll see what happens. I think it's good that they're maybe finally defining the indefinitely, like it's back now, and I hopefully now it's either yeah, you can come back, or no, you're done for good. Like, just let's take the indefinitely out of there, because that was dumb. And maybe if they do reinstate him, then they can come out with some sort of verbiage, just explaining the rules when it comes to gambling, how there is a zero tolerance policy in the future. If this happens, you will be kicked out of the league, whatever. But they need to define that, because I'm not sure it's currently defined.
Yeah, that's a good point. Week 5 of the CFL has been wrapped up, and so is the roller coaster of the chatter online and things like that, because after week 4, the league's terrible, fold the tent, we got to restart from the ground up. And now week 5, the league's great, dramatic finishes, kick returns all over the place, offense all over the place, league's great, awesome, here we go. do we need to slow down and just look at the whole body of work for an entire season or 2 seasons before just going crazy left and right? I guess that's what social media is, overreacting to every little thing. But it's now it's becoming a bit much for me. Now I'm realizing why I stepped away. And I just post the show link twice a week and do with it what you will. Although, I will say this. Because we've started to grow on YouTube a little bit. We're now less than 40 subscribers away from 1,000. A reminder, if we get above 1,000, we're going to hold a contest for somebody to win tickets to a CFL game of their choice. So I had somebody call their shot saying, I want tickets to the Western Final in Calgary. Now, if that doesn't happen this year, maybe they're waiting a while to cash in those free tickets. But as it starts to grow, you start to see the crazy comments coming in. I'm a CFL guy through and through, but like some of the complaints, like changing the field dimensions, getting the smaller end zones, things like that, I'm like, why? And then there was a guy going off. He didn't even watch the junk football video. Talked about how wrong we were. Okay. Anyway, so there's craziness everywhere online. Let's embrace the craziness. Thursday, the Stampede Bowl. The first ever Stampede Bowl with the Calgary Stampeders beating the Winnipeg Blue Bombers 37-16. I did say there was a path to victory for the Stamps coming off the bye. The Bombers, playing bad in McMahon Stadium. And sorry, I had to.
I know.
Like, is it the Stamps just that fired up for this Stampede Bowl, or are the Stamps for real? That's the question.
I honestly think it's a combination of both. I think now I don't understand why, like a made up kind of bowl game would really entice players that much. Like, it's not like let's be honest, in professional sports, what entices players? Money. Money, championships. And I get that this was a little trophy, but I'm not, going to say that that's the reason why they were so fired up. But, embracing the fact that the Stampede was there, embracing that they were hoping to get some new people maybe in there. And honestly, like, both of these quarterbacks, Vernon Adams Jr. and Zach Collaros, have amazing games, and sometimes they just have not great games, and we don't know what causes it. Sometimes we can kind of infer that when they get frustrated, they kind of get in their head and then things happen. But like, this game was just, kind of a bizarre one, because I think, I can't remember what it was. I think it was 90% on Pick'em on the game zone was like picking for Winnipeg for this game, and they were definitely my 4-point pick in all of my pick'ems. So, again, maybe this was an anomaly. I don't know, but we certainly were not. Were we not entertained? Because I think anyone but Bomber fans were.
No, it started great for the Stamps. Even they. 6 plays, 87-yard drive. Clark Barnes getting that touchdown. I believe he did get hurt in the game. But, man, what a great start. And the Bombers didn't start bad either. They had a 12-play, 60-yard drive that ate 7 minutes off the clock. Now, it did end in a field goal, but Brady Oliveira looked like in his return to the lineup, he was going to have himself a good game, and they were giving him the ball a lot here. He had 13 carries, 61 yards, but he also had 6 catches for 51 yards. So he had 19 touches in the game, over 110 total yards in this one. So he looked like he's ready to go right from where he left off there. But then after that, it just fell apart for the Bombers, and the Stamps well rested, well prepared. Dave Dickinson said, hey, the bye week probably did factor in to that for the Stampeders. Now, do you think teams ever look ahead to the bye? The Bombers on bye right now. You want to keep your team focused to the task in front of you? I do wonder if that can be tempting for teams sometimes.
Well, I think it can, and I think that can partially lead to like what we call trap games. Like, I know that Calgary they were 2-1 before this, right? So they weren't, like, let's say Edmonton 0-3. So I wouldn't say it was that much of a trap game, but like when it came to the overall perception of the game, I think a lot of people wrote Calgary off. I think a lot of people just assumed Winnipeg was going to come in there and dominate. And so maybe, athletes are humans too. So maybe some of those Winnipeg players took that to heart. And yet, like you said, they're looking forward to their bye week. Maybe they thought, oh, this is an easy game, easy road dub. We're going to go in there, dominate, and then we're going to get a week off. And so I'm not sure what happened, but I guess what did happen was just Calgary balled out. And when Vernon Adams is only completing when he's 13 for 18, if you look at that stat line, you're going to assume probably that they didn't win the game. But he had 222 yards, but he had 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Vernon, he did everything that he needed to do, and his defense helped him out incredibly.
And I really liked Calgary's offseason moves. I thought they made some great moves. They weren't as busy as some teams, but the moves that they made
good.
Definitely had an impact. You mentioned the defense. Damon Webb. That was Calgary's next score to put him up 15-3. He has a pick 6 on Zach Collaros. I mean, when you throw an interception on your own 30, never good. Damon Webb took that to the house. And there are a couple other veterans on defense that have been great additions to this Stampeder team. One is Derek Moncrief, who had an interception in this game as well that he took 70 yards to the house. How about Fullerton Arimolade on the D line? So they got all 3 levels of the defense with some pretty good additions there. And it wasn't long ago, Sheldon, when people in Saskatchewan said Derek Moncrief was done. And I thought that maybe he was in the wrong position to succeed in 100%. Saskatchewan. He was covering like boundary receivers like Geno Lewis and Kenny Lawler. That's not his gig. Respectfully to Derek Moncrief, who's a great athlete. But I think he sure looks like a leader on that Calgary defense, and he's poised to have a good season.
Yeah, like we've seen this happen a lot of times. Like, look at Derek Dennis. He was an all-star lineman in Calgary. He signs in Saskatchewan. All of us fans in Saskatchewan are hyped that we're getting Derek Dennis. And then Chris Jones tries to move his position, tries to get him to play guard instead, and it doesn't work out. Yeah, that same coach, Justin Capicotti, put him in a different position. Tried to put Shawn Lemon in a different position. Like, when you as a coach, you just need to know what tools you have and you need to put them where they work. And so, yeah, again, there was a lot of people in Sask who soured on Moncrief, but in this game, he was covering the shorter little intermediate routes, the hooks, the slants, and he got a pick 6. And he's been pretty good for Calgary this season. So yeah, I love seeing players get to have that kind of redemption arc, and they don't end on just being in a bad situation. I think there's one other thing that maybe played a little bit of a part in this game, and that's Adam Bighill. I know he wasn't on the field, but he was signed with Calgary, and he's in there, and he knows Winnipeg's defense. He knows Winnipeg's offense playing against them in practice. So how much knowledge was he able to give to the players on Calgary's defense to help them out?
The recently released Kyle Wilson from Hamilton debuts in red and white. He gets 5 tackles, including 1 on special teams. Damon Webb had 8 tackles and the pick 6. Derek Moncrief had 5 tackles, including 2 for a loss and the pick 6. So that's Stampeder defense. If we do look at the stats right now, they're actually allowing the least points per game in the CFL, 20.3. the top two pass defenses in the CFL right now, Calgary is number 2. BC is number 1, so we'll talk about them later. Now they're both in the bottom third of the league when it comes to rush defense. So there's a little bit of give and take when it comes to there. But the Bombers just, other than that first drive, I thought really if they stuck with that game plan, they could probably slow it down and bully the Stampeders into submission. But once you throw that pick 6 and then you're down 2 scores, you get a little bit of panic. And I kind of wonder if maybe teams are starting to see Jason Hogan's tendencies as the first-year OC for the Bombers. And now he is going to show what he's made of to see how he can adjust to more teams having film on him after this bye for the Bombers.
Yeah, it's just, when you go down 29-6 at halftime on the road, like, you don't have a chance to use that rushing attack because you feel you need to get back into the game as quickly as you can. But the thing is, with Winnipeg and Brady Oliveira, that can happen. He can bust off a 30 or 40 yard run in no time, right? So yeah, it was interesting to see, and yeah, bye week, I guess, perfect time. I don't think I think when it comes to the strength of a football team, going into the bye on a bad loss is actually good, I think, because you're going to think about that the entire time. And I know it's the bye week, and we want these players to be able to, chill out and relax and get their bodies right and their minds right. But that's gonna be motivation for them to come out next week, right? When they get back on the field again, this is going to be fresh in their minds, and we'll see what happens then.
Another thing I want to say too is it's always been a conversation and a tagline that the CFL draft is a crapshoot. And I don't know if we can say that anymore, because first overall pick Damian Alford has an 11-yard touchdown for the Stamps here to put them up 22-3 in the first half. Last year, rookie Kevin Mittal has a Grey Cup touchdown. Last week, Devin Varasek, first-round pick at linebacker for the Hamilton Tiger Cats, starts at linebacker, has an interception. This week, more tackles and 2 for a loss. So rookies out of the draft contributing right away in the CFL. You love to see that.
Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah, I wouldn't say the CFL draft is a crapshoot. I would just say that it seems certain positions might need a little bit more time when it comes to playing professionally in the CFL. I know O-line, that it gets talked about a lot, but yeah, when we see some of these defensive backs and receivers and running backs being able to show in and show out, that's awesome to see.
It seemed like Kevin Clearcius was the target of the day for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, much to my chagrin, because I did have Bomber leading receiver Carrick Wheatfall as my flex pick in fantasy. But Kevin's Clearcius, 10 catches, 78 yards. Nick Dembski had 9 catches for 74 yards. And Carrick Wheatfall, only 3 targets, 1 catch for 8 yards. But Jarvis Stearns is the one that gets the receiving touchdown for the Bombers, 7 catches and 49 yards. I think he's a solid receiver. Good for him getting a score for the Bombers. But Sheldon, I actually want to go to the email here, because at halftime, Brett Michaels was playing the Stampede Bowl here, and actually on social media he was making all sorts of like positive comments about the CFL. I don't know, teasing more things to come. I don't know what's planned, but this seems a lot of fun. But Bart says, for Sheldon's wife, I was not a fan of Poison, but I have to tell you that Brett Michaels' concert at halftime was surprisingly good. Also of note, usually during halftime concerts, the stand's empty by 3/4. But for Brett Michaels, I'd say at least 70% of fans stayed in their seats. And he was surprisingly good. I was impressed. He says, tell Sheldon he blew it by not bringing his wife Also, he says, well, Sheldon would have been happy to see Winnipeg lose so Sask could retain first place. So, Sheldon, you got to dig out of that hole, I guess.
Yeah, I would have loved to been able to take my wife to that game. Hopefully, these teases that Brett was talking about on social media come to fruition. Maybe he's back for the second inaugural Stampede Bowl next year. I don't know. If that's the case, I'll get tickets as soon as I can.
And Bart also brought up the the moment in the second half. Dave Dickinson's fire never leaves, and I think there is an unspoken rivalry between him and O'Shea.
Oh, for sure.
I think it's the best when the Stamps and the Bombers are good, because then we get a little bit more of that.
Dave doesn't like the Canadian Mafia, remember?
The Stamps were up like 4 scores, and he challenged an illegal contact. And I do believe, Bart, that they took that away a couple years ago. So right at the beginning of the pod, when we started this podcast in 2015, I think we were in the challenge illegal contact era. And Dave Dickinson Dave Dickinson was going fishing a lot, and not the Reggie Bagleton kind of fishing. Fishing for illegal contact all over the field. But I think a couple of years ago they got rid of that. But Dickinson didn't get any warning from the ref. He said, no, you lost your challenge. You're out of here. I kind of wonder if it's the way that Dickinson approached it. He didn't look very calm and measured.
Well, honestly, I think if it was the first year after they made that change, then maybe they would have been like, hey, you probably forgot, but it's been a couple years. So I like that, to be honest. Like, honestly, a head coach should know what he is able to challenge or not challenge. I know it probably comes in the headset and they're just like, that wasn't that. And so, instinctively you want to throw the flag. But yeah, honestly, it's good on them, because I don't like seeing stuff like that kind of delay the game. So if they were quick to it and they're like, you can't challenge, you lose your challenge, you're done. It's just like, Monopoly, go to jail, don't pass go, you're done. And so, and because it happened to Dave Dickinson, I just thought it was kind of hilarious, just because I love to see Dave Dickinson mad. It's one of my favorite things.
It doesn't matter if he's up 5 or scores or down 5 scores.
Yeah, you can't say he's not passionate. And I love that.
Dedrick Mills, shout out to him, 18 carries, 93 yards, and a touchdown in the Stampede Bowl. I hope they do it again. I was kind of surprised that they had a whole MVP thing, and the players were very laid back about it. And I guess I was wrong about the Stampede Bowl. It does look like you can drink out of that.
It does, yeah.
And Vernon Adams Jr. getting the old belt buckle, so he's ready to hit the midway and eat some Skittles hot dogs.
Yeah, I saw a TikTok of the Oreo, the deep fried pickle Oreos, and someone said they actually really liked them.
Sweet and salty, I guess it's a thing. Okay, Friday night football. Oh boy, the Hamilton Tiger Cats walk the Toronto Argonauts 51-38. And actually, it's not as if the Argos had a bad game. It's just exactly what the number 9 fan base in the CFL needed. Ticat fans,
son of a,
you and I both know, I'm going to put the camera on me, that's a load of garbage. You guys are not, but don't bite into it, okay? They didn't even need to set the line. Didn't even need to pull up on the rod. Man, I haven't fished for 15 years, but I'm hitting all these. Don't buy it, Ticat fans. Don't buy it. But
we all know it's the Stamp fans, right?
Is this what Bo has been missing? Like, no, but I don't get it. I don't know if we could say that, because Bo has worked with some amazing receivers throughout his career. But him being on, and now a couple weeks ago, it seemed like Bo was overthrowing guys by half a yard here and there. And if they're able to fix that, I think you get what happened here. Kenny the King Lawler, 6 catches, 207 yards, 3 touchdowns. Now everybody's anointing him as the best receiver in the CFL. Who called him the king first? That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, he's the king. 2 and out, said he was the king. And it was incredible to watch. And it's not like those were easy catches for him to make either. Like, he balled out. And this is the Kenny Lawler that, this is as advertised Kenny Lawler. I know he went to Edmonton, and I don't think it worked out there. But when he was in Winnipeg and now in Hamilton, he's earning his paycheck. He certainly is earning his paycheck.
And would you believe it if I told you that the Argos actually started with the lead?
Yes.
Like, they had a great drive to start the game. 68-yard drive. Kevin Brown gets it into the end zone right off the bat. And actually, even though the Ticats did pop 50 on the Argos, they did not score halfway through the first quarter, because the Argos have that great drive. The Ticats then have a 2 and out. Then Arbuckle gets intercepted by former Toronto Argonaut Deshaun Amos, and then the very next play, Bo Mitchell hits Kenny Lawler for a 35-yard touchdown. I think we're at this point in the game. Bo Mitchell had 2 completions and 2 touchdowns to Kenny Lawler in the first quarter. So he was like 2 of 3 or something for 114 yards and 2 touchdowns. Like, this is Madden kind of stuff.
Oh, for sure. And as soon as this happened, we knew we were in for a game, because these guys were going shot for shot, and then a mistake happened. Arbuckle throws the pick, capitalized immediately, and it's just, the CFL fan of me just was sitting there smiling. I was like, yep, we're in for a good one tonight.
Yeah. Like, you love to see it on Friday night too. Like, there's something special about Friday night in Toronto, and the Ticats go to town before Labor Day. And I guess they felt like they needed to show him who was boss, and they really did here. I don't know, is the biggest story Bo Mitchell hitting 40,000 yards in his career? Is the biggest story him having a perfect passer rating, throwing for 5 touchdowns, 3 to the King, 1 to Ternowski, 1 to Keandre Smith? Or is it the $1 million winner?
It's 100% the $1 million winner. Congrats to Bo for getting 40,000. That's awesome. Well deserved. He's had a great career, but for 2 kick returns in the same game, and for it not to be taken away by a BS penalty, that was so exciting. And it was actually really funny, because I was not alone. I was sitting at home, and I was just like, holy, this person just won $1 million. And I look at my Twitter feed, and everyone's like, oh my God, millionaire. But they didn't even acknowledge it on TV at all. And I'm like, what are you doing? Why are you saying this? And then they threw to the panel, which makes sense, I guess, now that you think about it. But I had goosebumps. I was like, holy crap, this has actually happened. That was unreal.
Roy Lister, New Westminster, BC, wins $1 million because
hopefully a follower of 2 and Out.
Yeah. Let's get him on the show.
Do it.
A 2 and Out exclusive. Well, I don't think we hold the weight that TSN does. I'm sure they're going to get him on. But Janarian Grant takes one to the house for the Argos. Then Isaiah Wooden takes one to the house for the Ticats. And he already had a personalized video done by Isaiah Wooden of the Ticats. They played it on TSN. Here's the question, Sheldon. If you win the $1 million, what are you tipping the 2 returners?
Oh, I'd probably give them each 10 grand. I think 10 grand is fair. That's that's better than if like they get an MOP in most contracts. Usually it's around $5,000. So I think each of them would be pretty happy getting $10,000 from me and me getting $980,000 in 20 years or however long the $50,000 annuity goes.
True. That's true.
So maybe I couldn't give $10,000 right off the hop. I'd give him something nice.
So maybe as a Janarian, you're gonna get $500 over the next 20 years.
Yeah. It's like we're locked into a bad timeshare paying Janarian Grant.
So that Janarian Grant kickoff return was a reverse from Kevin Brown all the way to the house. Now that one actually brought the Argos like back into the game. You know, they ended up being back down, I think 12.
Yeah.
After that, and then Isaiah Wooden in the fourth quarter ends up winning the $1 million for him. That was an 86-yard return. That one put the Ticats up 51-32, back up by 19. But so many moments in this game. Like, it's not like the Argos didn't have plays either. DeMonte Coxey, he has a touchdown here. Kalen Laburn, he got himself the 1-yard rushing touchdown. He made 4 catches for 34 yards. And Kevin Mattal has a touchdown, 8 catches, 104 yards. So plays were made all over the place. Return touchdowns. I mean,
you had everything.
Friday night, baby. I love it.
Well, and I loved, especially on that Grant return, I just loved them, like, Ryan Dinwiddie just being like, if you're not going to kick it to him, I'm still going to give it to him, because they did that a few times, actually. Like, I think after 1 or 2, you should probably have stopped. But, yeah, if you're not going to kick to my guy, I'm going to make sure he has the ball, and it did not disappoint.
So, I asked you if Calgary is for real. Is Hamilton for real? See, this is where I get with the overreaction theater. Now, no offense to Ticat fans, but 4 weeks ago, everybody is saying, well, the Ticats might be at the bottom of the East Division. Now, they're getting anointed as the Eastern representative in the Grey Cup. It's crazy how fast things change. So are the Tabbies for real?
Well, I mean, when you look at their roster and you look at who they have and you look at who they're coaching and the success that the coaches have had in this league, like, I think it's hard to not say they're not for real, but we just don't know. Again, like, we have to understand that Toronto is still not playing with their starting quarterback. I know Nick Arbuckle is playing. I know he has started all the games this season, and, you know, he had a pretty good, decent game. 27 for 38, 339 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. So, you know, that's pretty much all you can ask from Nick Arbuckle. Okay. However, we just don't know what would happen if the other guy was playing, but you can only play who you're playing against. So when it came down to this Friday night, Hamilton is definitely real. Next week, they have an opportunity, if they win, to possibly take over first place. No one thought that was possible a couple weeks ago. So I can understand Hamilton fans being super excited. I can understand CFL fans being like, whoa, Hamilton, they're on the rise. Like, they're going to go up in the power rankings. I got a lot of crap from people saying that Hamilton or Toronto should have been below Hamilton last week. Well, guess what, boys and girls? They will be this week. So I think to answer your question, I think that Hamilton is for real. If Bo Levi can play like that, if Kenny Lawler can make those grabs, if Greg Bell can keep pounding the ball, if these guys can make plays like they're supposed to, and the defense can do things, and the special teams can return kicks for touchdowns, like, of course they're for real. So the CFL is a league right now where parity's at an all-time high when it comes to my fandom. So I think every team can be for real. It's just who's going to show it that week.
I can't wait till these teams play again on Labor Day. It did seem like I don't know. Bo had a chip under his shoulder. I think some lip readers said, I think Davis Sanchez was actually one that tweeted it out. Said, Bo said, tell Chad to stop talking. And Labor Day, if Chad's back on the field, which he will be, here we go. Ticats Argos. Elks Stamps. Like now, after Edmonton's win, Calgary beating Winnipeg. Labor Day is not far away. And then Riders Bombers. Look out. Get fired up. Like there is a reason to love this league, and I think Labor Day is going to be wild. So let's now this one, there's still lots to talk about. You probably call it the worst game of the week, but BC goes to Montreal, wins 21-20, and they had no right to win this game. But they did. Let's just look at BC's penalties here. Because 11 for 146. Yeah. But the most costly penalty is one that Montreal took right at the end of this game. McLeod Bethel-Thompson starts again for the Montreal Alouettes in this one. And the Owls played with the lead all game long. They really did. Until, there's no time left. Because right off the bat, and Rourke was looking good in this one. I thought he looked great. Moving the ball for the Lions, gets picked off by KB and Ento at the 6-yard line. And then 3 plays later, it's 80 yards, and it's Tyson Philpott into the end zone for the Alouettes, 45 yards to put him into the lead. I thought, hey, maybe McLeod Bethel-Thompson, he's used to the Jason Moss offense more for the Alouettes. He's looking like he's going to have a great game here. But then it was kind of a struggle the rest of the way for both offenses. And I thought Montreal would be able to take advantage of the penalties that BC was taking, but they really couldn't all that much.
Yeah, and it's frustrating. It's got to be frustrating as a fan base seeing just all that stuff gifted to you, and you just can't capitalize on it. And I know, Montreal, let's face it, they're a completely different team with Davis Alexander and they're than McLeod Bethel-Thompson. We've seen that these past couple weeks. But having said that, they were still, quote unquote, the better team for 59 minutes and 59 seconds of this game against BC with Nathan Rourke. So that just goes to show you that Montreal's defense is still pretty dominant. They just weren't able to, shut the door at the end of the game. But again, as you mentioned, a very bad penalty, a penalty you just cannot take in that circumstance, and that just led to field position. There wasn't any wind to stop them in Montreal this time.
And I feel like Jose Maltos has played very well for the Alouettes, so we can't really pin it on him. I know Brett Lothar gets raked through the coals in Saskatchewan, but Maltos had a 6-for-6 game a few weeks ago. In this one, he missed one in the first half, and that one also came back to haunt him. So in football games, you can't blame. I know we'll focus on the end and things like that, but there are other factors that go into the loss here. But Rourke, I thought in the fourth quarter he was really trying to put that team on his shoulders, and we see what he's doing with the rushing as well. Him staying on the field for short yardage. How do you feel about that? Because they tied it at the beginning of the second quarter. It was Rourke doing a 2-yard rush to tie the game there. And then following that, the Alouettes have a pretty good drive, but Maltos missed the 44-yard field goal. But Rourke was on there, short yardage all game long. Feels kind of risky.
It certainly does, because we've had numerous CFL players come out and say like how truly bad it is on short yardage. There's people eye gouging. There's people punching. There's people hitting each other in the nuts. So it's not a. I think you have to be a kind of special kind of human to want to be the quarterback and getting into those situations. But I think other than the obvious you know potential for injury when the quarterback is doing that, I think just mentally, like if a quarterback gets stuffed on a 3rd and 1 and they turn over the ball, like that can weigh on the quarterback. And then you go into that next drive and you're like, I let the team down. I got to do everything. And then maybe you throw the ball a little bit too hard and you can throw an interception the next time. So I wouldn't do it if I was a head coach. Like there's certainly other players who can take that. We've seen, I know Mackey used to do it and he retired, but there's got to be players or just the backup quarterback who can do short yardage. I know that Nathan is a gamer and he wants to be in there for every snap, and that's the type of physical play he likes to play with. And so sometimes it's hard to rein that in and say, no, I need you healthy for the 98% of the other snaps in this game. But I get why he wants to be in there and he's fighting for those yards. It's a risky play.
So the Lions did take the lead in the first half, but, near the end of the first half, the Alouettes have a touchdown drive to take the lead with Sean Thomas Erlington, who the Alouettes were running the ball well here. Sean Thomas Erlington, he had 6.9 yards a carry.
Nice.
11 carries for 76 yards. He also had 2 catches for 22 yards and a touchdown. The other running back, Travis Tice, 7 carries for 21 yards, but he added 3 catches for 37 yards. So the running backs were having success against the Lions, and the Owls didn't really seem to commit to it all game long. It might have helped if they did commit to that all game long. I mean, and then they went up 8 in the third quarter, and Sean Oakman even had a blocked field goal in this one. It's a wonder he doesn't have more. The tallest player in the CFL, Sean Oakman, he looked like he's been inches away from a few more blocks himself.
That guy is so just tall in his wingspan, and if I was a kicker, I'd be like, geez Louise, got to get some air on this one. Yeah, hey, Willie Jefferson, like these guys are just what they're able to do with the reaction time just to get a hand up and to be able to actually hit the football, like, and some of those quarterbacks throw the ball pretty hard, like getting hit with your football in your hand too. Like that, like but that's why these guys are professionals and tougher, and we're sitting here talking about it on a podcast, my friend.
Our baby hands. So the Lions took the lead back in the late in the game. This would have been the fourth quarter, right? When they hit Stanley Berryhill for that 46-yard touchdown. He makes his return to the lineup. Now, may I suggest a rule change in the CFL? Now, maybe some football guy is going to tell me why this can't change. Can we get rid of the procedure no end call? There's been a few of those calls this year, and I don't know. It just seems silly. It seems semantics to me. Just maybe there's a reason I'm missing, but does that need to be there?
If we can trade the missed field goal sailing out of the end zone as a rouge for that, then I'm on board, my friend. But this goes down to the deep traditions of the game where you have to have
that's garbage, and you know it. Okay,
I hear you. I hear what you're saying. We're gonna
have to do a video, rouge or no rouge. I think
I suggested it,
and you used the words Bush League, and I've been thinking about that ever since. There was a Bush League moment at the end of this game.
I regretted it saying that, and I will say on here again, I regret saying that it was Bush League.
You said that before?
I will. Well, I've said it on Twitter.
Okay, then I will not. I will not pick on you again about it.
Well, everyone's picked on me. It's fine. I get it. I said it. I shouldn't have. A TSN personality. Okay, I'll at you, Luke. You made a video and you put it on there, and that got seen by a lot of people. But our actual video got seen by a lot of people, so thank you.
Okay, there was, I don't like to use the term Bush League, but the end of the game, I don't, some people love it, I get it, but I don't know. There was some silliness, and I don't mean between the whistles, I mean after, which I didn't know happened. So, okay, let's go through this. The Alouettes, so they get the ball with 2:24 to go, and they end up kicking the go-ahead field goal with 30 seconds left. So they're up 20-18. But on the field goal, Pierre Lestage, the offensive lineman, takes a misconduct penalty. So the Owls need to kick off to the Lions from their own 15-yard line, putting them in amazing field position with 17 seconds to go.
Yeah, like we both said it before. You can't take that penalty there. You have to be able to control your emotions, because of course BC is going to try to get you to take a misconduct penalty because they know that you'll have to kick from your 15-yard line. So, it's terrible. It's almost unforgivable, because BC would have had to made some pretty remarkable plays to be able to get into field position if they were kicking from that original spot with, again, only 7 seconds left when they had the ball, right? So you don't want to pin a loss on a penalty. That it's tough to do that, but when the 13th man happened, there's one person is responsible for that, and there's certain people who say it's one person, certain people who say it's a coach, but that you can point to somebody. But this is similar because that one guy did the penalty, and it's not like it was a BS call. He played hard after the whistle and shoved him. That's a misconduct. So you have to have the ability, the restraint, the professionalism to be able to, as soon as that whistle blows, let go of your guy, and then you could be celebrating a dub right now.
Yeah. The Lions still to make some remarkable plays here in the last. You could tell that Rourke trusts number 4 Keon Hatcher. So he hits him for an 11-yard gain. He hits him for a 7-yard gain, and he tries to hit him again, but it gets broken up. Now it's 3 seconds left. 3rd and 3 on the Alouettes 49. And before the game, they're deciding Shaun White's range. And I'm like, that's a little far. I thought they're just going to Hail Mary it and try it. This is CFL football, man. But there's so much that had to go right on this play. Because for Javon Catoy to get a 13-yard gain with 3 seconds left on the clock. Now, there's all sorts of debate as to who's running the. Well, it's the home team running the clock, so maybe they screwed over their own team. I don't know. But if there's no waggle, Javon Catoy hit that line of scrimmage at the perfect time. He's 10 yards down the field when he makes the catch. He's down. 0.2 seconds left, whatever it was. And now Shaun White gets to kick the winning field goal from 43 yards away. The level of execution on that play, and that is from a guy, Buck Pierce, who has played the game, who has coached the game in Winnipeg, understands the clock, understands the CFL rules. That was just amazing. However, Sheldon, the Alouette defenders, they should have just not touched him. Because if they didn't, wait till time expires, 2 hands on them, Alouettes win the game. Obviously, in the heat of the moment, you're trying to break up the pass. I get that, but wow, what execution.
Yeah, well, and at that situation, as a defense, you have to understand that you have 2 ways to think. Are they going to throw a Hail Mary because there's only 3 seconds left, or are they going to do a short pass? So you have to try to be able to defend both of those. And when you see that it's a short pass and you, again, reaction takes over, and It's a little bit different than taking a penalty, though. Like you're reacting in time, and you're trying to down the guy. But yeah, it's kind of funny in hindsight to think of if they just wouldn't have touched him, the game would have been over.
Yeah, I went back and watched it, and I'm like, did they touch him? Because wouldn't that have been something? So there's risk at that for the Lions too.
Oh, that was a very ballsy call by Buck Pierce. Very like hats off that it worked. If it didn't work, I'm sure he would have heard it, and I'm sure the fan base would have said it. But yeah, when things like that work out, props.
So that's 3 wins in a row in Montreal for the BC Lions. This is a team that has won the Grey Cup a few years ago. They go to the East Final. Montreal's not an easy place to win. And the Lions, for some reason, they go there and do well. Nathan Rourke, 22 of 36, 352 yards, a touchdown, and an interception. And he led the Lions in rushing, 8 carries for 43 yards, the rushing touchdown. You don't want to see your quarterback doing that all the time, but Rourke, he was on a mission in this one. Justin McInnis, 6 catches, 109 yards, is the leading receiver. But the big story, Sheldon, I'm going to put it on the screen here, is what happened.
This is just another one of those things that happens when you have benches on the same side of the field. There's 5 CFL stadiums that have benches on the same field. I think it's the
entire East Division and BC plays.
Yeah. And so I understand if it's like a space issue, but in professional sports, I get that in hockey the teams are right beside each other, but there's a barrier in between, and you cannot go near the locker rooms and stuff like that. So I don't know if it's just teams that want to try to sell, bougie platinum lodge seating on the other side of the field, which I think is what BC did to
I think so
eliminate that. And I just don't know if that is right. Football is a very intense game. Tempers flare, especially when it comes down to a field goal, last second walk-off field goal, and the home team thinks that they should have won, and then something happens. You get a penalty, blah, blah, blah. It happens. So I think there's ways to prevent this by having teams on opposite sides of the field, but at the same time, the players all go on the field at the end of the game, so fights can happen anywhere. It's not a good look. I'm not going to say the B word for this, but it's not a good look. But you just don't like to see it. I obviously for entertainment value, I guess some of the fans we're probably sitting at home being like, holy crap.
Normally, I think I'm surprising myself with it. Normally I'm like, yeah, let's go.
Yeah, like we're wrestling.
But after
fans.
the
like
game, I guess. Yeah. I guess I like it better in the middle of the game. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, because at the end of the game, the players are just play like the CFL is a small league, and with the player turnaround, like half of these guys have been on each other's teams at one point or another in their career. It seems like so. You don't expect it to really happen after a game, but what one person says the wrong thing or shoves the wrong person, it can just ensue a melee, which is exactly what happened.
You have to think, and actually in this game was the angriest I've seen Jason Moss get in a long time. And that was sort of the knock that he had coming out of Edmonton, that maybe the team was feeding off of his aura. I can't say that there's been that same issue in Montreal, but look, the Lions took way more penalties. They just, I guess, had better timing at it than the Alouettes.
Yeah, it's crazy when you add up all the penalty yards that BC has, and then it's these 15-yard penalty that really just seals the Alouettes game.
These two teams play at BC Place Saturday, August 16th. We'll see what happens on that game. Now, Sunday, the Sunday Nighter in Edmonton, another entertaining affair. Drew Brown returns to the lineup for the Ottawa RedBlacks as the Edmonton Elks win 39-33. The Elks got out to a 15-3 lead in the first quarter. Before you knew it, it was 22-17 going into the half. was quite the entertaining game right off the hop, man. And that starts with Trey Ford hitting Justin Rankin for a 45-yard touchdown right off the bat. And the Elks were off to the races.
Yeah, and that just kind of, even to us, it just looked like a broken play on TV, and Rankin was just able to find a seam and hit it, and he was gone. He's so fast when he gets in space. It's unreal.
I think he's like deceptively fast. Like once he gets into the open field, nobody can catch him.
Yeah, he's shifty. He gets through the holes, and then when he sees that there's no one in front of him, boom, he's gone.
And then the very next drive, the RedBlacks kick a field goal, but there was no slowing down the Elks. Curly Gittens Jr. Gets a touchdown there. Even the fullback, the pride of Lacombe, Alberta, Tanner Green getting an 18-yard gain here. Rankin at a 23-yard gain. And I thought, if the Elks get that running game going, they are going to be dangerous. And that's where they had the success last year. This isn't where the running game success ended in the first half, but they just came out so energetic against Ottawa, and it just seemed like they weren't ready for it.
Yeah, it just seems like they were kind of building off the momentum of, even though they lost in Winnipeg, I think collectively they kind of gelled a little bit, and they showed that they can hang with who we thought was the best team in the league. And they just were able to build on that this game. And Ottawa, with Drew Brown in there, he's no slouch. Like the two games he started before he got injured, he was over 400 yards in both of them, and he had another 316 yards this game. So it's not like they were playing against a bad team. It's just these two teams that their weapons were firing at each other, and we all just got to enjoy a great game.
Yeah, in the second quarter, early on, Richie Leone punts to Javon Leake, who takes it 94 yards to the house. It was the first kick return for a touchdown for Edmonton at Commonwealth Stadium in a decade. They did take a kick return to the house in 2023 on the road. I believe that was Deontez Alexander. But Javon Leake, the first one in Edmonton since Edmonton last won the Grey Cup in 2015. But this is why they signed Javon Leake last year and brought him to green and gold. And man, what an impact on the game, giving the Elks a 22-3 lead. But then it was at that point when the RedBlacks start fighting back, right?
Yeah, they just, other teams, they would probably crumble and fall from that, but they just were able to get back on the field and they were able to answer.
It's tough because on the next drive, Devontae Dedman ends up getting injured. The cart comes out and he leaves the field. He's been a guy that's had a couple serious injuries in his career. An electric player for the RedBlacks. That's a tough one to see.
Yeah, hopefully he's able to recover and get back, because you never want to see a guy get carted off and then that's it for him in sports. So and you could tell he was crushed. He knew something bad had happened, and just I hope, just thoughts for a speedy recovery, and hopefully he can get back playing football, because he's just dynamic and he's exciting, and that's what we need in this league.
Early in the game, Geno Lewis ends up having a drop, which is kind of uncharacteristic of him, but then he scores a 6-yard touchdown as the RedBlacks pull within, I guess, 2 scores here. There was an Elks linebacker that hit Geno back with the raising the roof celebration, which I loved to see, and I'm glad there was no flag thrown,
Yeah, I popped at that huge when that happened. I remember I texted you about it, but I think as long as you don't do it in the face, as long as you're not taunting them, I think they're going to let things like that happen, because, again, that's another thing that's exciting for us fans. Like, I remember, I can't remember who it was who did this. I think it was like Shaq Evans maybe or somebody, but then Yeah, just I remember Winnipeg quarterback doing the tie and then somebody else doing it when he got stuffed. Like it's all the time. Like those things are the best. And there's a couple of good sellies too. That once you could tell Edmonton was feeling it. They were excited that they were getting these scores, and I love to see the players having fun like that.
And once Devontae Dedmon left the game due to injury, Khalil Pimpleton is the one that gets the returns. So then he takes a Cody Grace punt 97 yards to the house. Was Grace the last Elk standing? I mean, that was really unconventional cover team.
Yeah, and I know he probably couldn't have tackled him, but he was definitely pushed from behind, right at like the 5-yard line. Like, again, Dave, we talked about him earlier. He was the one who pointed out what should have been an illegal participation penalty on the return there in that Toronto game, and then this one, that should have been a penalty. Like, again, I'm happy that it maybe wasn't called on both of those occasions because they were exciting plays, but when you see sometimes a return or something get called back because of a ticky-tack penalty that's not involved, and then you see like these where like, they're kind of involved, it kind of is frustrating. But again, Pimpleton, he's just another guy that he is his speed for days, and once he got hit, it's not like he was able he found a seam and went through. Like he was bouncing around off people and missed and making it was fun to watch.
So then at the end of the first half, even though the Elks got off to a decent lead, they only had a 5-point lead going into the room. I saw some RedBlacks fans not happy with the clock management from the RedBlacks at the end of the half. They might have been able to get into field goal range there, but they didn't. See, like you compare that to what BC did. The RedBlacks had the ball at Edmonton's 48. And they hit Daniel Adeboboye, but there was a few issues before that leading up to that. BC did it right. Ottawa, not exactly the example to look forward to there. But an interesting thing to note, Sheldon, was when the Elks started switching quarterbacks. And it looked like for no other reason than to just switch it up. It happened first in the third quarter, I believe. Cody Fajardo comes in for the Elks. It was the first series of the second half for Edmonton. Now, to be fair to Fajardo, he didn't throw an incompletion, but he got stuffed on a 3rd and 1. Trey Ford did get sacked for a loss on that same series, so I was kind of wondering if he was injured or what was going on there. Did they make any mention of that on TV? They did it a few times in the second half where Cody came in for a series.
Yeah, it seemed like this was a plan that Mark Killam had before the game. Like they didn't say this in the broadcast. I've read this after the fact. And mainly, when a team is 0-3 and you're trying to get a win, then maybe you game plan to try to, as a change of pace, put in the other guy. And it was very weird and funny because at home and in the stands, Trey Ford was 9 for 9 when Cody went in the first time. And it's just, I don't understand why he did it at that time. But if that's the plan that you have going in, then I guess they just kind of went with the plan.
I understand it was the plan. But I guess I just think it's a dumb plan.
Yeah.
Enoch Mwamba says he hated it. It just killed the flow of the quarterback. Yeah. Like you said, Trey didn't throw an incompletion. Now, hey, we gave Bo his flowers. Trey, I think now sometimes I wish he would run a little bit more. I get what he's trying to do. Perfect passer rating. 15 of 17, 212 yards, 2 touchdowns. that 158.3 passer rating. Cody Fajardo, 404 for 29 yards. So if you put them together, the Elks threw 2 incompletions against Ottawa. And the Elks O-line without David Beard, I think Mark Cordy at center this time around looked a little bit more stronger than the week before. But I don't know, knocking the flow of a quarterback. I know a lot of fans that they want to see the 2 quarterback system and things like that. But sometimes when the offense gets out of rhythm, I think it's pretty tough to get back in it.
Yeah, I think, if you have a short yardage QB and you have a package for him, like Winnipeg has done this a lot where Strevler will come in for a short yardage play and then they'll keep him in for another play as kind of maybe a reward for getting the first downer. I don't know what it is, but I'm fine with that. But when you're going to switch out quarterbacks for series is like, that's tough. As a fan, I would like to see, I like to see that as a fan. Like you said, I think there are fans who do, but I recognize that you have 2 different voices then in a huddle, and you have 2 different cadences, and it's also hard for, like, you can throw the ball on the sidelines with another person and you can get on the bike, but you're not in game speed. Like, your adrenaline's not pumping like the guy who's been playing for the first 2 quarters already. So risky. It seemed to work out here in this case, but I don't know if you saw that picture going around social media of Trey Ford hugging Killam after the game. He didn't look impressed. He did not. And I hope that's just a bad second of the frame, and it's just, his expression just changed or something, and we can read into that a little bit differently. But just that picture, it's just like he didn't look like he was on board.
I was surprised they shared that one.
Yeah.
But they did. And then Justin Rankin's game was not done there. Like, in the 4th quarter, that was the knockout blow. I know there was plenty of game after that, and the Elks added a few more field goals to their total after that, as did Ottawa. They added some points. But it put up Edmonton 32-20 at the end of the 3rd quarter. Justin Rankin, a 74-yard touchdown to the house. Like, you talked about the speed. It was on display again in that one. So he has 105 yards rushing, 69 yards receiving in this one. 174 total yards and 2 touchdowns for number 5.
Yeah, he had a great game. There's so many players in all these games that had great games. Like, it just seemed like this was a playmaker's week, and he did not want to be left out. I know, playing in the last game, and he sees all these other players, I'm sure, making statements throughout the games, and yeah, he was not going to be denied. And like we both said, he was gone. He broke through that line of scrimmage and that one hole, and boom.
Javon Leake, he had a 46-yard catch in this one. For the RedBlacks, Khalil Pimpleton has the punt return, 68 yards receiving. Geno Lewis had 75 yards himself. And like you said, it was another 300-yard game and no turnovers for Drew Brown. It's not like he played poorly, but the Elks drive chart, when they were getting out there, they were putting points on the board. They made things count. And now let's look at the Edmonton Elks, who had 39 points this past week. They had 23 points against the Bombers. And then against the Alouettes a couple weeks ago in the 4th quarter there, they put up 22 points. So in the last 9 quarters of football for the Edmonton Elks, we have 45 plus 39, 84 points for that Elks offense. Man, I'm glad I figured that out relatively quickly.
That was better than I could do, for sure.
So if we look at the offense right now. They're giving up the most points, but for offensive points over the last 9 quarters, they're starting to put them up too.
Yeah, and I know people can say, you know, a lot of that in the Winnipeg game was garbage and garbage time, and I get that. But they showed that they were able to play 4 quarters. Now, were they able to play flawlessly for 4 quarters? No. Both teams get paid, but they were able to, kind of weather that second quarter storm where it seemed like Ottawa was getting back into it. And then in the third quarter, they were kind of able to pull away and just be like, no, this is our game.
And I just feel really good for the Edmonton faithful. That crowd they've been dealt a poor hand. And prior to the game, Stuart Johnston, the CFL commissioner, was on with Morley Scott. And Morley had a point where he said, I don't know if I consider it an attendance problem in Edmonton yet, just because how bad the team has been at home. And I think that's a great point. If they start playing 500 or better football at home, I think we'll start to see better crowds in Edmonton. They announced 16,588, which it's a sad number when we look back to the history of Commonwealth Stadium. I'm not going to sugarcoat that. But the crowd there, they were boisterous. They were into it. They were fired up. That punt return, man, they were good. And they were loud for the defense in the fourth quarter. I was part of it as well, I will admit. Even the guy ringing the cowbell sitting behind me in my ear, I was willing to forgive. But my ear's still ringing. Yeah. But hey, the crowd that showed up, the atmosphere that they're building there, if they can continue to put a product like that on the field in Edmonton, I think the ship will get right.
I think it will. Honestly, it's the same in every place. Like, winning is just going to bring people there. Like, I guess maybe the one caveat is Toronto, because, you know, the Argos went 16-2 but we did see improvement. We saw like steady improvement, and last year they were getting, you know, lots of people to games for that market. But look at, like, you know, 5-10 years ago, the Riders were leading the league in attendance, because at that point they were winning a lot of games. They were, you know, they had a stretch where they made it to the finals. They won a Grey Cup in 2013, and then they kept, you know, they were very competitive, and then they had a couple down years, and then the pandemic, of course, happened too. So that's a big part of it too. But Winnipeg, the last 5 years, they've been to the Grey Cup every year. They're winning at home most of their games, and now they're selling out most of their games. So it just goes to show that when you win, when you give a product to fans and consumers that is going to be exciting, is going to make you feel like you're making, that you're gaining your money's worth by going out to the field, then people are going to come, because people are going to tell their friends, man, you guys have this Elks game was amazing. You got to come to the next one, because, you know, hopefully we're going to win again. And then if they can win again, then that person can tell another person. Like, it's like a disease. It's like an infection. It gets fed by winning. So hopefully
a good disease. Is there such a thing?
Well, sure. I'm sure there is. But, like, you know, people say the Rider fans is a plague, right? So
okay, yeah.
So, but I'm saying, like, it's just infectious when winning happens, and you're able to build a camaraderie. You're able to tell other fans, and it's just a buzz happens in the city. The city used to be called the City of Champions. The Oilers, they've made it to the Stanley Cup the past 2 years in a row, and I know NHL is selling out better in Canada than CFL football, but if the Oilers miss the playoffs for 3 or 4 years in a row, they're probably not going to sell out. Like, it's just how it goes. So we need a lot more of those Oiler fans to see some Elks wins, and then get more people in the stadium and across the league.
Look, and I think there's an opportunity to get over 20,000 this coming week. Nathan Rourke, we've got the Elks and the Lions, the Canadian quarterbacks, dueling again, and it's a big one, because if the Lions win, they win the season series. Elks win, the rubber match is later this year with the BC Lions. So it's a big game on Sunday. And look, this isn't an Elks commercial, but they're having the prehistoric party with the dinosaurs, and they do some really fun activations with this. You can get 4 tickets, 2 adults, 2 youths, and 2 kids meals for $77. That's like cheaper than the movies, man.
Yeah, that's a no-brainer.
And you can also get, beat this. You can get 2 tickets to the game as well as a $25 gift card to Triple O's for $50. Like, get a ticket to go see the Elks and get yourself a Triple O's shaken burger, because that's the good stuff. I know you know that, Sheldon.
If we had a Triple O's here, I would be in trouble.
I love that. Week 5 gave us a lot to talk about. You and I each went 2-2 in Pick'em. Fantasy, not good?
I don't want to talk about it.
Okay.
I got like 70 points. I had Zach Caleros as my captain. Okay, let's just put it that way.
Trey Ford, Geno Lewis, and Steven Dunbar helped me crack 100 for the second straight week. But I recognize that there are probably people out there that have Bo as their captain and Lawler as their receiver, which already beat my lineup right there.
Yeah.
So thumbs up to the people that had that. This has been week 5 of the 2025 CFL season. What a blast it was. And week 6 has the Stamps and the Riders. On Friday night, the Ticats and the RedBlacks, the Elks and the BC Lions. Week 6 is going to be another great week of CFL football. You can rate, review, and subscribe to 2 and Out on your favorite podcatcher. Hit us up on YouTube. 39 to go to 1,000 as well. We'll talk to you soon on 2 and Out.
The 2 and Out CFL podcast is written, produced, and hosted by Travis Currah and co-hosted by Sheldon Jones. Subscribe to 2 and Out on all major podcast platforms and YouTube to keep up to date with future shows.